creator and channel of the award-winning Ark Animal Tarot and Oracle deck. And I am here with my beautiful soul sister, witchy poo goddess, master tarot reader. By God, can you tell I love her? Dayna Winters. She is, as I said, a master tarot reader and has graciously created a very special signature tarot spread for the Ark. We're going to get into that in just a second. And Dayna, you're also an award-winning author with Schiffer Publishing, and your titles are...
Thank you. My titles are Wicca, What's the Real Deal? Breaking Through the Misconceptions. I got to think about it for a minute. Sacred Objects, Sacred Space, Everyday Tools for the Modern Day Witch, and the Esoteric Dream Book, which is a book about teaching you how to interpret dreams. It's not just a dream dictionary.
Right.
So
they're
that's where they're at.
They're an academic read, to be sure, because that's why, I get a lot of questions about why I have Dayna join me on the tarot videos that I do. And that's because my thrust is more the animals, the connection to the animals, the shamanistic approach, the intuitive tarot approach. I know all the symbolism backwards and forwards and upside down, but there are specialists in every area. And Dayna has been studying symbolism, global symbolism, since the time she could even read. It's been her passion. It's been her vocation. She comes at it from an academic standpoint. My God, I can't even tell you how much I learn every time I'm with her. So we're going to jump right in. I'm very excited to show you guys this new spread. When we ran the Kickstarter and we got the initial decks out, and then in all the subsequent sales of the Ark, thank you guys for making it such a success. Because of you, the Ark was named Product of the Year at the wildly prestigious, it's like the Academy Awards for the metaphysical industry, the Cover Visionary Awards this year. We were Product of the Year and won the gold in the tarot division. And the website won for audiovisual Product of the Year and Best Blog of the Year. So it swept everything because of you, because of your support. Thank you so much. And so why I'm going into all of that is through the last year, because the Ark hasn't even been out a year. It only came out in late November 2019. I've gotten a lot of emails, you guys, wanting to know why there weren't spreads in the book. Well, I deliberately didn't put spreads in the book because there's about 1,000 books out there that are amazing about tarot spreads. I'm a huge fan of making up your own tarot spread to suit the client, to suit the situation. But you asked for it, and I wanted to give you something that no one else had that was super special. And Dayna and I were talking one day, and she was like, hey, what do you think about this new spread I came up with? And Dayna's got really deep ties into the pagan, Wiccan, witchy poo community, which is cool because that shamanism is the foundation of all of that. It's all earth-based. It's all earth spirituality, animal spirituality. And so it all ties in together. And when I looked at that spread, I thought, man, it's probably the most powerful spread I've ever seen because it ties in so many elements. And we'll get into that in a second. I said, hey, Dayna, I said, do you think if you're doing that, would you be willing to adapt that for the Ark so that we would do a Father Sky, Mother Earth, which is very much the same concept as above and so below? And she was like, sure. So in the second edition of the Ark that's coming out, it has that spread in the book. And then if you click below, I have a link to a PDF where you can download the spread now and just follow along with it. And so this video is going to take a little bit, you guys, because this spread is not the wham bam, let's draw 3 cards and let's tell you what you want to hear, that kind of thing. It is a really in-depth, insightful, will give you unbelievably accurate, unbelievably evidential readings if you use it. And there are a variety of ways that you can go about it. So you don't have to watch this video all at once, but you'll see in the notes section below where the timestamps are. You can skip to different, things about the Ark new signature reading, which is the Father Sky, Mother Earth reading. So Dayna,
yes.
we got the graphic up on the screen now for the Father Sky, Mother Earth. And so why don't you just take everybody through, like, why is it 5 cards on top? Why is it 5 cards on bottom? What does each energy bring? The masculine, the feminine. just tell them everything. What's the story with this particular tarot spread?
Okay. Well, the 10 cards that you see, it's basically that's the only thing it'll have in common with the Celtic cross spread, that there's 10 cards. But there's 5 cards on top, which represent Father Sky, or anything that's got to do with consciousness, the material realm, physical world, and it's also associated with the yang of the yin and yang forces, which the yang is about taking action, or being direct, or not aggressive. Well, not, you can be aggressive, but it's not violent. It's about moving forward with deliberation. And the bottom part is the Mother Earth part, which is another 5 cards beneath the first 5 cards. And that's about the subconscious and emotions and the realm of imagination and dreams. It's also about being passive. I don't mean submissive, but I mean about being passive, open, receptive. And passive has nothing to do with weakness. Both of those energies are very important. They're equal in importance. So as you look at the spread, the first 5 cards, you'll go through them in a linear fashion. So you'll go from the first card to the 5th card, from left to right. And then, of course, you go to the bottom row and go from left to right over those 5 cards. Then, when you look at the rest of the layout, when you're done with that, for clarity or deeper insight, you would look at each card as they appear, the one beneath the one on top, as you go through it. So you end up with 2 outcomes that go together. One is the taking action, which you would get over here on the linear side. If you go from left to right, you would get the action result at the end. And then the other part would be at the bottom, where you're going from top to bottom in comparison. So those literally, you have the yin and yang forces, or the harmonious outcome of taking action and being receptive, that balance. Now, each slot in the layout has a specific energy, cardinal direction associated with it. And it goes in the direction of east, south, west, and north. And you're going to think about each card in relation to that cardinal direction and everything that cardinal direction connotates. So east, for example, is associated with the element of air, the realm of thought, the realm of movement through ideas. And then you move to south, and you've got the movement of your will and this element of fire. And that's going to be about purifying things, sparks of creativity. And each correspondence, and it's in the book, you'll see the correspondences for all the elements. So you'll have a general idea how to put these things together. But it takes a lot of thought to kind of look at how each animal that comes up in the Oracle, the Tarot and Oracle deck, because you can use the entire deck, including the expansion decks, for these readings. And you can get a very insightful reading. It's not just a yes and no, here you go, here's a little bit of an explanation. It's very deep, a lot to reflect on. I recommend taking notes when you do it.
Yep, it can be. And that is not meaning it can be very deep and very detailed. That's not said to overwhelm you guys or to scare you. And if you're a beginner, it's okay. You
Yes.
take what you know today and you start to put the pieces of the puzzle together today. And 6 months from now, when you know more, and you've got more cemented in your brain and you've got more experience, then you do more. And just to take a second and address this again, I get asked all the time how to use the Ark Tarot. Do I blend all of the 149 cards that are available together? Some people just have the deck that has the 100 cards, which is the 78 tarot cards and the 20 bonus cards. But most people got also the expansion pack. So they've got a total of 149 cards. Well, the reason that I built the Ark like that was because some people will really resonate with tarot. Other people don't care about tarot. So they just want to use it in a more shamanic fashion, more oracular fashion, like oracle card fashion, and everything in between. And some people will choose just the animals that they like. That's why I wanted to give 149 animals. I mean, if I could have done it, you guys, there'd be 500 cards in this deck, because I mean, there are millions of animals on this planet, bugs and fish and birds and, insects and the whole 9 yards. There will never be an end to the animal spirits that can come to you ever. But for this deck, we did 149 cards, and then subsequent decks will have other animals in them so that you can, mix and match as you choose. So we're going to go through a couple of spreads today. And like I said, this video is going to be a little bit long. You don't have to watch it all together. You can decide when you do your readings, do I want to pull just the 78 cards of the tarot and leave the rest of them aside? Do I want to only work with the 22 bonus cards and then the 49 extra expansion packs, just those oracle cards?
Mm-hmm.
I want to go ahead and use them all, and when the cards come out, when the cards come out, you just completely ignore that it has any tarot meaning on it. You can easily do that. Whatever relationship you want to have to your reading, to your to the cards, to the animals, to the different spreads, that's up to you, and it's up to you to establish the intention, and it's up to you to establish the relationship. And it may be different for every client that you have. It can be, and we'll show you some of what we mean by that today. However, all of that being said, I really do encourage you to have at least a cursory understanding of what all of the directions mean and what all of the elements mean, and then also their corresponding colors. Because when you start to really look at some of these things, you know, you may pull, let's say, let's say that you pull a whale, Dayna, and let's say a whale gets pulled in the south quadrant for Father Sky and south, right? It's in the Father Sky and it's in south. Whale is a mammal. Whale is a water animal. Now, obviously, and it's also the judgment card, okay? Oh my God. That's a lot of like, what would that card mean? So what would you take away from that? We've got it in a position in Father Sky. It's the judgment card. And let's be clear, we haven't asked a question. We haven't set an intention. I just want to give a couple of very brief examples of what we mean. So now we've got a water element mammal in a Father Sky position, and it's an earth animal, it's an ocean animal, but it's in the sky, okay? Yes. And it's in the position of south and fire. What does that mean? Okay, so what would you take away from that?
All right, so we look at each of those elements or factors. No, I shouldn't use the word elements. I don't want to confuse anybody. Each of those components one by one. So for the first thing, a whale is a huge animal. So this is going to be a big matter, something that's very significant, larger than life that's in your life, or something that's coming up that it's impossible to ignore. This very well could be making your stance. Now, whales navigate through water. So this is about navigating through the realm of emotion or dreams or both, visions. It can be also connections to spirit world. It really is what resonates with the reader. But the fire element, you're going, okay, there's water. How can there be water and fire together? Well, they can work together, because there's lava that goes through the ocean. And of course, fire and water make steam. So this is about tempering fiery emotions, cooling them down, or really getting solid in the area of emotions, because lava will solidify under that water, to kind of make sure you're in a position that's very strong, or that you're feeling stable in emotions instead of erratic. And it's a big, of course, the whale. They also are, for me, I think whales are pretty gentle. I mean, they don't have teeth. They just have those things that filter, little, whatever they desire to eat. It's just a filtering system. And they're huge. The big thing is huge. And the thing about the whale card, you've got it as the judgment card, which is major arcana. And major arcana are about big life events, rites of passage. You can also think of idioms too, like having a whale of a time, or you know what I mean, or things of that nature. Whatever resonates with you, but all of those things can come together. You just have to think about how each of those things work together, or how they might relate to one another.
And the traditional meaning of the judgment card is?
When I interpret it in the tarot, I see it as something that has either an apocalyptic type kind of ending. But that's not the be-all, end-all of things. There's people rising up out of the grave in the card. So they're coming up out of the water, and they're being chosen, brought up to heaven, the rapture. So there's a tumultuous ending, but a brand new beginning that brings you even greater joy. So this is a really big emotional event that you will overcome or get through. that actually ends up for a greater good or a happier ending for you, the
Right.
final judgment. And of course, judgment, using your judgment to get through things.
Exactly. And then a whole nother way to interpret that, if you take away the tarot card meaning and you think just about whale as a spirit, totem, or power animal, you may take a look at that and go, you know, here's a person, because you've got, I do a lot of visuals, like the animals send me a lot of visions, right? And so I'm reminded of that when there's a piece of art, I can't think of this guy's name, but he does the most amazing art where he puts animals in all of these highly unusual places, way out of their element, and it's beautiful and it's fantastical. And in this one piece of art, he's got a whale as a hot air balloon. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And you can, because it's so well done, you can suspend your disbelief for the time that you're looking at this guy's art.
Wow.
So when I see, you know, I'm a little more literal than that. I've got a whale now floating around up, having fun with Father Sky. And you're right, it is really big, but whales are tremendously intelligent. We've proven this. They are amazing communicators. We've proven this.
Oh, their songs. Yeah.
Exactly. And so when I think of things being in the sky, I'm drawn to the air element, which is about thought and information that comes to you on the currents of the wind. Father Sky is also what impregnates Mother Earth, the rain, the sun, the, you know, everything. And so when if I were to look at that and I was like, that's the south, that's the fire, I might very well be moved to say to somebody, there's something that you want to create, a business, maybe you want to have another child, maybe you want a different relationship, you know, it could be anything that they wanted to create. And you've been thinking about it in a really big way. And the whale is here to let you know that no matter how big your dream is, it can rise to the top. It can fill that space. You are smart enough to do that.
Yes.
That's another way to interpret that. And there are probably another jillion ways to interpret that. And the reason that we're going through this is it is so important, you guys, so important for you as a reader and a healer to understand there's no right way or wrong way to read any tarot cards. Now, there are teachers who very much stick to the traditional meanings of the cards that were actually made up by somebody. So, okay, and that's fine. That's the foundation, because everything is that I do with the Ark deck is based on the Rider-Waite tarot deck. Okay, so we have those really awesome foundations of meanings and symbolism, but you will be establishing a relationship with your cards, the different animals, the different directions, the different elements. They will all come to mean something different for you, maybe, or you might just stick to the hardcore meanings and symbolism that you read in books. And that's okay. But I will tell you that 30 years of doing this has told me and shown me, if you'll just relax and trust your own intuition and trust your own animal allies, they'll bring you more of the story. And as long as you wait for the story to unfold, you'll be fine. So, also because that's in a more of a masculine position, which again is more about aggression, taking action, I would say to my client, you know, and now it would depend on what other cards are around it, right? It would depend what's above, what's below, or what's to the sides, what's below. That would depend. But in that moment, if we're only talking about just that card, I would see or feel, because when you bring the element of fire together that's in that south position, and you bring the water together, they create steam. And steam can blind you, or it can be tremendously healing and purging. But I would see it as
or it can evaporate. evaporation of problems or difficulty. I'm not saying that would just go away by itself unless you take action, because it is in an action position.
And that's what I was going to say, is that fire is about igniting and passion and moving forward. And, and I would say, hey, I really feel like this is a good time for you to start. Now, one of the things that I did not include in the original Ark book, and it's not in the second edition either, are the reversals. And I didn't do that purposefully, because that's just a whole, you guys, working with reversals on any card, on tarot cards, on oracle cards, that's a whole subject matter all into itself. The book would have had to be another 50 pages long. And my editor was like, no. And at the time I was self-publishing, and I was like, Lordy, that, I went through the whole, what it adds to the cost, what it adds to the shipping weight. And I was like, it's going to have to go for another time. But that doesn't mean that you can't use reversals. And for the now, until the animals tell me exactly how they would like to be interpreted as reversals. And some people don't like to bring the negative energy to it at all. They don't use reversals at all. And I understand that. And I understand why some people see reversals as negative energy. I don't see it that way. I do see reversals as a yin and a yang, almost even an alpha and an omega, because we do have reversals in life, and we do have things that block us, and we do have things that slows things down or just obliterate or whatever. So if I were using reversals and I saw that whale reversed in that position, and I were going to look at it as the tarot meaning, Dayna, the judgment card reversed would mean what to you in a reading, especially in that position, in the Father Sky position, in the South, and the fire?
With the reversal, it's being, I would almost say, out of touch with your emotions, or you're coming out of the water. You imagine the water disappearing, feeling like a fish out of water, a giant fish out of water. So in a big situation, in a big way, it's more of a subdued energy. With judgment, I would say holding back judgment until you can navigate waters with a little bit more comfort. And this is not about a resurrection of things. This would be the reversal of that. If you think of the traditional tarot card itself, putting something in its grave instead of stirring up the energies, or something's going to remain out of balance, because there's an angel in that card that blares a horn with an equal arm cross. An angel means messenger. So subdued messages, or messages that are in the subconscious and they stay in the realm of thought. So something you wouldn't put out in the world, holding back until you make a move, because you're just not in your right environment. Your conditions aren't right for movement.
Yep. And if I saw that, again, I would go for probably a little more literal, and I would wait to see what the spirit animals told me, because when you see an upside down fish, okay, to be clear, whales, dolphins, lots of fish will do what planes do. They'll do upside down. It's not unusual to see, when you watch a whale breach, they breach backwards and they expose their belly to the sky.
Vulnerability.
Exactly. I might say, hey, there's some vulnerability here. Let's look at everything else to see where that vulnerability is coming from and how to keep yourself safe. If I have the spirit animals literally show me, goddess forbid, a whale just bobbing upside down, that's what happens to fish when they die, right? Mammals, you get it. That might be a call that, listen, this is not going to work for you.
Something that's dead in the water.
Yeah, it might be a call that your expectations are unreasonable. And I'll give you an example. I just had somebody leave me a review. I don't remember this girl. And I feel badly for her, because, I don't remember her. I'm assuming that she really had a reading with me. And she left a 1-star, and she was like, I had a reading with Bernadette 2 years ago, and she's a nice lady, but nothing she said has happened. And my immediate reaction is, when I do a prediction for someone, it is always given with evidence, meaning this will happen if you do this. This will not happen if you do or do not do this, so on and so forth. And people don't ever, some people will hear that. Mostly people want to hear it's all going to work out and they don't have to do anything. And I can tell when someone says something like that to me, that this person has been sitting around for 2 years waiting for everything to just fall in her lap. Life doesn't work that way. It doesn't.
Exactly.
And I might say to this client, because it's in the South, because it's fire, because the water is there, you're not willing at this time to be as aggressive or go for it as you should. And I might say, do you fear that you're not smart enough to make this happen? Do you fear you don't have enough energy? Do you like, what are your emotions around this? Because like you, that would clue me into the emotions are upside down.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, so that's just one of another jillion ways to interpret it in that position. So what Dayna and I are going to do now is we're going to do a reading where I'm going to be the client and Dayna's going to be the reader. And we're going to go through step by step by step. Now, I have a real question for Dayna today. And that is, I have a new book coming out. And I would like to know the trajectory of this book. What, you know, I'm going to ask the same thing that clients always ask. Am I on the right track? Is it worth doing? Will I make money? Will it be helpful? Does it need to be bigger? Does it need to be smaller? With what I want to do with it, I want it to be bigger. You know, this is a coffee table heirloom book, bigger than normal cover, Smith sewn, all color, like gorgeous. And in that, the price point will be more than it would for an average book, but it will be at this moment the ultimate guide to spirit, totem, and power animals, because at the moment it's planned to have 333 animals in it, all described as a spirit, totem, and power animal, and nobody has. And well, first of all, I'm the only one that uses that method that the spirit animals downloaded into me about making a division between the energies and the medicine of spirit, totem, and power animal. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's just a more organized way for you guys to learn to work with the energies. But that's a big book. It's a big endeavor. We're almost to the end of the endeavor now. We're working on design and putting things here and finishing up editing and that kind of thing. But still, before I run another Kickstarter, before I invest in it more, I'd like to know what we're looking at. So that's a lot of questions to go into one reading, but I know that you can answer those. So with that in mind, what's the story, Dayna? Tell me.
All right.
About
So,
one.
Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. Here we go. Now, this is half the deck. I have to shuffle each half because it's such a big deck with all 149 cards. Each half.
I have the same thing, but the reason I made them big was because when I looked at the design small, it was like a wah, 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 wah. So you just got to figure it out. You just got to figure out how you got to.
Though.
Yeah.
It's worth it because the cards are beautiful. The designs are beautiful. The animals look like they're coming right off the card. I mean, they're beautiful.
You know what? And thank you for that, because, man, I just get so many emails all the time that people are so blown away by what the power is that comes out of these cards. And I've had people who have been struggling for years in psychic development classes to see visions of things tell me that the animals, they'll watch the card and the end, like I had, oh weird, that's so weird, it's right here. I had a lady write me and she was like, I jumped, I screamed, I jumped, my kids came running in, and she literally was looking at the dragonfly card and watched the dragonfly card switch its head, you know, like dragonflies.
Oh, wow.
And she said, it was so real, Bernadette. And I was like, because it was real, because it was real. That dragonfly came to life for you in that moment. That stuff happens to me all the time. I in particular, when I hear, if you guys have never been around real lions, to hear them roar, it is a sound that will light you up from the inside out. You think you've heard loud, you never heard loud, ever, until you've heard a lion roar. And that's always what happens to me. I sometimes have to shrink because it's so loud in my head, but it makes my body thrum from the inside out. So, all right, do you have all of my dirty laundry and good and bad news to share with everyone?
I've laid out 10 cards, 5 on top, 5 on bottom.
Okay.
So the first, and I'm not at all surprised, the first card is the cow, the Empress. So the cow is related to the Empress in the Rider-Waite Tarot. It's in the eastern corner, and of course this is the Father Sky row. So we're talking about conscious action, the physical realm, the realm of materialism, what you should do going forward in a very linear fashion or logical fashion. And of course, this is, if you look at the cards, every card has 3 keywords underneath it. I don't know if you can see. Can you see that?
Yeah.
The 3 keywords on the bottom: abundance, creativity, and fertility. And of course, this is a creative project. So this is about nurturing things. You think about the cow as being a symbol in many countries as a goddess or a god symbol. They see it as something that's nurturing because it provides food or sustenance through milk. It cares for the way it cares for its children. But it also, nourishes humankind. Now, the Empress, if you relate to that, that is I see her as an agricultural goddess, Demeter, who is pregnant in the card. So there's things going on behind the scenes that are in gestation, as you just discussed with everyone, the editing, the putting the things together. It's a creative project, and it's something that you're going to give birth to. It's going to be your baby. So, and believe me, putting a book together, it's very much like giving birth.
Y'all.
Is it not? Including the labor pains.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's all I could say. Y'all, for everybody out there that has a dream of making your own tarot deck or your own books, I implore you to do it. Nothing will challenge. Having children and being married and maintaining relationships and careers, okay, that's hard stuff. But nothing will make you feel more accomplished than actually doing it. It's hard, it's long, it's frustrating. You will feel stupider than you've ever felt in your life. Well, I did. Well, I kind of feel like that on a daily basis. You'll get to know me. I'm not all that smart. So
that's not true. Correct.
But my goodness, I just can't tell you. I'm gonna have a moment here. What it will bring to your spirit to do it. So I encourage everybody to do it, but just know it ain't easy. But here's my question, Dayna, if I may, because this is, as a reader, I would immediately think, okay, why would the spirit animals put the Earth Mother? Because that's how I see cows and the Empress card. It's Mother Gaia, it's Mother Earth. Y'all, why do you have to be so cagey? Why can't you just put Mother Earth downstairs in the Mother Earth part? Why do you have to put it in Father Sky? How do you interpret that?
Well, if you've ever seen the yin and yang symbol, it's black and it's white. Each of those sections has a little dot in it of the opposite color.
Right.
So each section has a little bit of the masculine and feminine in it. So yes, you're going to have Mother Earth appear in Father Sky, simply because that's in taking action in the area that Mother Earth represents. So this is about getting grounded, getting things stabilized. It's the corner of the east, so using the intellect to take action and get these things in order. Now, the card itself has poppies in it, in the field. They are poppies, yes.
Yeah.
Showing poppies, you think about the realm of dreams, because poppies will put you to sleep. You remember, I think Wizard of Oz, she falls asleep in the field of poppies. Yeah. Poppies. So this is about your dreams. It's about dreams, goals, visions. And a cow is very grounded. They're very earth-based. They eat from the earth. They also ruminate. They eat food and they ruminate on that food. So this is about rumination, giving really good thought and reflection, taking action, because thought is action. Thinking about all the aspects of the creative process. Making sure all your bases are covered. As you know, you've got to really, when you're creating a book and cards, you've got to think about every potential outcome. You've got to go over the book, the cards, the design. There's so many elements to what you're doing. So this is thinking about every factor and nurturing that factor, those things being in gestation. Think about the Empress with the water streaming beside her. This is the realm of intuition. It's like a waterfall, a flow of, I would say, inspiration, number one, the flow from the realm of spirit, but also intuitively allowing your intuition to guide you through the process. Now that's in the eastern corner, so that's in the realm of thought. You're going to be using a lot of thought, probably frying your brain from time to time to get the project done to its completion. But the field flourishes. So this, you will flourish when you get to the end of this process. You're going to love one of these cards. I can't wait to get to it, but
okay,
I'm not going to tell you until I get to it because it's a
right.
surprise.
So hold on oh boy. Okay, so hold on one second. So I'm being read, right? And Dayna's the reader. And if I were in her position and the roles were switched, what I am always pinged of when I see a cow, and it's one of the many, I mean, there are, so we could keep you here just an hour talking about why cow wanted to be the Empress card. It's just so perfect in every way. The word that comes to me instantly is sacred motherhood.
Yes.
And in that sacred motherhood, oh, there's nurturing and there's warmy fuzzies. But y'all, who's the fiercest animal on this planet when you mess with her cubs? It doesn't matter what animal it is, down to the tiny little discus fish, little goldfish, all the way up to mama bear, up to the way to my mom. And so if I were to see this card, I might, I mean, depending on the client and what they ask, I might get a feeling of, and listen, you've got to protect this at all costs, even from yourself. And one of the reasons that I bring that up is since the COVID thing, so many people have had, I mean, it's not that they've had time so much as they've been faced with, oh my God, the world can change in a minute. And people say that, but they're never hardly faced with it. And I've had more readings. People don't want to know, are they going to get a job? Are they going to be okay financially? It hasn't been about that. It's been about, I'm going to change my life. And I've always wanted to do it. And I know I'm being called to do it. Will that be okay? How do I get there? And so I would say that in that position, it would be about, you've got to constantly move forward. You've got to save yourself from yourself. You've got an extra 15 minutes today, and you were really crazy busy today, and maybe don't have an extra 15 minutes today. Okay, make that 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if you touch it for 5 minutes, if you touch it for 15 minutes, make it happen. Protect this project from yourself, from your fears, from your laziness, from your whatever, to protect it from other people. Did you take on a business partner? Did you hire somebody? Do you have a publisher that's, who's trying to take it from you? Who's trying to stop it? This is your baby. You either be a real mama or you get out of the way. It's
Exactly.
just simple. And I'm a prime example of that. I did a video about, a little bit about what was going on during the Kickstarter that was running while we were trying to wrap up final designs and final book everything. Y'all, I wore a heart monitor. Literally on the day before my Kickstarter started, I was down in a cardiologist's office getting strapped up to a heart monitor and wore that thing for the entire 30 days of the Kickstarter. And subsequently had to have a heart ablation the month after the Kickstarter because I refused to have it during the Kickstarter. And they were like, well, we hope your heart doesn't stop. And I was like, me too. And I just kept going, kept going. Yeah, it's not to make it about me or get off track, but when you've got a dream and it doesn't, there's no one dream is more important than the other or one dream is bigger than the other. Whatever your dream is your dream, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so protect it at all costs while you nurture it. Okay, so let's move on, or we'll be here 3 hours doing this. But
okay,
I'll give you guys a very large overview of a very powerful reading. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so the next card is the macaw. The macaw is the world card in the tarot. And of course, when you look at the bird, it's taking flight. Now, this is in the area of South Fire, and it's in the area of action. So this is about taking action on that creativity, going from the realm of thought, where you're nurturing things in the cow and thinking about things and being inspired, to allowing it to take flight. Of course, you've got the rainbow color here. If you think about rainbows and how they represent promise, fulfilling your promise, or fulfilling even sacred contracts, which you've been promised to fulfill. Um, Actually, the card says sacred contracts on it, and I didn't even know that until I looked at it. Sacred contracts. The infinite possibilities is another thing, of course, and birds' aerial vision. Macaws are highly intelligent birds. They can, it's about, they can speak. So, of course, sharing your voice with the world. And, of course, fulfilling not only your promise, but helping others fulfill theirs and their sacred contracts. Things taking flight and kind of going with the flow of that as they take flight, helping them take flight, making sure they stay moving. So it really goes nice in a linear fashion from thought to movement of your will, manifestation. And it looks very promising here with the macaw because of all those bright colors boldly standing out. And you said something about the book being in full color too. I think you mentioned,
Yeah.
Boldly shining your colors. And feathers are, of course, a sign of spirit, spiritual ascension.
Yeah.
And also, you know, I would say also being lighthearted, trying to remain lighthearted about it, because that thought process can really be very burdensome. Huh? So no, in the background, it can be like, oh my God. So you want to keep a light heart as you go about it, because you really want to experience the joys of the project as well.
Yep. And so also for me, you mentioned the full color, and when I see a macaw for anything, it has a very personal connotation for me. In the book, in my Lovingments, I dedicate the macaw to
Yes.
my husband, because I have to tell you, I'm listen, you guys. When I was told to create this deck and find an artist and do this and do that and create whatismyspiritanimal.com, I was sucking wind, and I just was like, I can't do this. And my ex-husband turned around and looked at me and he's like, you're one of the smartest, most capable people I know. If you want to do it, we'll just do whatever we need to do to make it happen. And so I have to say, in the absence of him shaking me up, I don't know that this would have ever been created. And I absolutely, so I always see that as a, don't discount what someone says to you. You never know when they're going to be the messenger that changes and pivots your entire life. And the other thing is about the colors. Yes, it is about shining all your colors and not being afraid to use your voice. Now, I'm not saying don't be open to everybody else's suggestions, but it's about using your voice. And here's what I will tell you about that. The Ark, the book, there isn't another deck to my knowledge that has a guidebook this large with it, with this many details, and it's full color. And y'all, people, when I was like just trying to get some information, what should I do? What should I not do? I knew what I was being told by the spirit animals. Every single person, except for my ex-husband and my sister, said to me, are you crazy? You can't do a color book. No one will pay for that. It'll make the deck too expensive. And my sister and ex-husband looked at me and said, you make the deck you want to make and make the book you want to make. And if people want to buy it, they'll buy it. And if they don't, they don't. And so I went back to the spirit animals and I asked them, I'm like, look, you guys, the whole point of this is to bring people closer to you all so that they'll want to do more for you. And they said, we wear our colors very proudly, even down to a titmouse who's all brown. And I love the color brown. I've got a lot of it in my house and whatever. But, you know, when you start comparing that to an indigo or a teal or an orange or whatever, you know, it may not be so stimulating for people. But that was it, man. I decided full color it is, whatever it costs, full color it is, because it's so much a part of the animal symbolism, you know? So, okay. All right. So let's move on to the next position. And
the next position, of course, still Father Sky. And this would be the west quarter. Ironically enough, it's the Ace of Cups, the Nautilus. So, of course, we're right in the water element. And this is, of course, about fulfilling your desires. If you ever look at the Ace of Cups in the tarot itself, it has a symbol of Scorpio on there, your own symbol, and it means I desire, of course. So this is the pursuit of your desires. And ironically, that cup itself represents the union of the masculine and feminine energies. I desire bliss in every sense. overflowing of abundance. So you've given full thought to your desires and how you want this to manifest. And that's interesting enough, we were just discussing this not within the last 24 hours, what you want and defining it and having that definition, because if you don't have that definition, you're just going to be navigating around in the waters and you're not going to get anywhere, and eventually you'll drown because you're going to panic and you'll be overwhelmed. If you swim for land and you keep swimming, eventually you'll find land and you'll get there, but you have to have that point of orientation. You have to have a definition of where you're going. Now, I am one who can tell you that is not an easy thing to come by, especially when you're kind of in the middle going, I don't know what I want. But this shows you know what you want, because the macaw is flying towards that cup. And ironically enough, in the Ace of Cups, there's a dove flying into the cup.
Yeah.
And it brings a Eucharist with an equal arm cross. You're bringing balance into the situation with peace of mind. That's the ultimate. We had discussed peace of mind. Peace of mind is part of it, but you also want to satiate all of the five senses. And I think that's very much important to your definition of what you want to manifest. What do you want in your life? What do you want to be able to see around you? What do you want to feel? What do you want, what do you want people to say? You want, when you're saying, you want people to hear you, you want to be able to hear other people, satiating all the senses, not just physically, but also psychically, intuitively, emotionally. What do you want on all those levels? That's something that you have to come to terms with to manifest this. And you've already pretty much done that. You've defined it. So putting that definition in place is going to lead to its success. For someone else, this might be a different, they might be in a different part of their project. Maybe they need to put a definition on it. Maybe I'm picking up on my own energy. Who knows? Because it seems like it needs definition.
Right. But also, Nautilus shell is used in the Fibonacci sequence, and it's the number 12.
Yes.
It's the completion, the number of perfection. And so being in the West in the water, it might signal, just relax, right? Because I am having a whack attack right now about the timing of this. I promised,
don't spiral out of control. You think about the idiom.
I promised the publisher I would get this book done and Kickstarter launched this year, and I have been sucking wind, y'all. For a while, I've been sucking wind. So, all right. So let's go ahead and move to the next card.
All right. So the next card falls into the northern corner of the cardinal directions, and that's the Warthog, Two of Cups. Now, the Two of Cups is very much about healing. It shows the caduceus in the card, but loving something warts and all with the warthogs. I remember this is, and drinking of the water, drinking of emotional waters, and they're sipping at the water. So taking emotions a little bit at a time. They've got those tusks digging in and making it happen, digging up those roots, looking for what you want. And of course, back to defending that project to the bitter end. You keep it going. However, you've got to keep it in defense, because if they're backed into a corner, they will charge at you to kind of take care of business. So no charging unless necessary, though. They only do it if it's necessary. So keep your tusks to the ground until you're threatened, basically.
And the Two of Cups is about the perfect pairing. The perfect
harmony, yin and yang.
Yes, exactly. Balance. Okay. All right.
All right. So the fifth card. Oh, did you have some? I didn't want to cut you off there.
No.
Okay.
I'm good, because if you're just joining us, Dayna's basically taking an overview look at a project I have. I have a new book coming out. It's volume 1 in a 7-volume series about spirit, totem, and power animals, and it is being designed to be, like, as much as any book can be, kind of the go-to book for as many animals as we can fit in one book. There are 333 animals in this book, and they all have the definitions of being a spirit, totem, and power animal. Nobody else is using that system, and people are really resonating with it, and nobody else has that many animals or the in-depth, versions. But, now we're to the point of, it's already a really large book. Do we include all the working with the elements and the directions and the numerology and the colors and the this and the that? Is that actually a volume 2? So there's a lot of decision making going on, and it's a huge project. And so I asked Dayna, am I headed in the right direction? Will it be successful? What are the things to watch out for? Just tell me about this project. And so that's what she's in, and we've made it. Now we've gone through the first 4 cards, east, south, west, and north, and now we're in Father Sky still, and we've moved to Akasha, right?
Yes.
Which is
bringing all of the elements together, the final summation of Father Sky. And hopefully you won't cry because it's the bear card. So I hope it won't bring too much emotion to you. I know what the bear card means to you, so I'm very serious. Yep, right here, bear card. Yeah. So the Queen of Pentacles has such deep meaning for you.
Guys, this is what clients feel like. Oh my God. Woo, give me a minute. Woo, okay. I did my makeup. I can't. Okay, go ahead. Wow. For those of you guys that don't know, you can watch another video or email me or something, but bears are like my life. And my actual name, before I knew anything about all of this, my actual name, the etymology of it is brave, strong bear. It's a whole
Wow.
my mom. It's anyway. Wow. Okay, and so, woo. Okay, so let's talk about that position in Father Sky. So the Akasha position in Father Sky means what? And then Queen of Pentacles means what? And then we can talk about bear means what. So when you see that card as what the anchor is, how I see it, because you do move linearly left to right. What does that position mean to you?
As you bring all of the elements together, it's the final summation of the Father Sky cards. So you consider all the other cards, but just like with the elements, Akasha brings all of the elements together. So if you take all the actions that have been recommended through the reading so far, this would be the outcome. And this is, of course, Queen of Pentacles, which is the bear. And the bear has 2 cubs. And of course, there's nothing like a mother bear who's going to protect your cubs to the very bitter end. But it's also about giving birth. They're cubs. So this is the birth. And there's 2 bears, which is interesting because, of course, you know how that relates to you personally. But it's about more than one thing. Things growing from one birth more than you expected. Like it's a doubling of what you expected. You may have been expecting 1 baby and you got 2. You ended up with 2 cubs. One of those cubs is a little bit hidden in the card. You can't quite see it, so it's almost like a surprise. But you will get more out of it than you imagined ever putting in. Now, for me, this card represents the Earth Mother, but I remember in your loving mints, or actually your dedication, you dedicated part of this book to your mother and Petunia. Mother and the warthog are next to each other. Warthog is kind of a boar, which relates to the pig. So I really feel very much that there's the influence of your animal spirit and your mother playing a role here intuitively.
Okay.
I'm trying not to cry myself because I know how much that means. You're like, oh my God, I don't believe what I'm seeing.
But this is how, I watch clients have this kind of stuff every day, but it's still very magical when it happens to me because, a story I've never told is the pig that is in the book. When I was a kid, I was in Future Farmers of America, and I was just a stupid, naive kid. And, it was the only club to join. I mean, my God, I grew up in the deep South in a very small school. If I didn't join that club, I wasn't doing anything. And I got elected to raise the chapter hog one year. And I was like, I'm going to get to have a pet pig, la, 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 la. And so I just raised her as a pet. I taught her to do things that dogs do. She followed me all around our property, so on and so forth. And when it came time for the livestock show, she won grand champion. Wow. No one was shockeder than anybody that, because I didn't raise her. I fed her shit I wanted to feed her. She was my pet. She wasn't a livestock. And then they said, well, you've got to take her back in for the auction. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they were like, well, she's going to get auctioned off. And I was like, what does that mean? And my mom, my FFA director, just looked at me, and I literally had a mental breakdown. I went crazy. I tried to take her and steal her. Anyway, she got bought by Van Camp's Pork and Beans. That was God. It was horrible, and I still to this day feel so horrible about it. And so that's why I dedicated it to her. And a good friend of mine that's a psychic didn't know that story. And when I came to her and I said, hey, I want you to put some cards on this project, she said, I keep hearing oinks. Why am I hearing oinks and seeing a pink pig? And I just fell out. So this deck Woo. Okay, we'll move on. We're probably going to cut here and move on till Bernadette can get her stuff together, but that's the story. So having the pigs by my mom is like, I know I'm doing the right thing by all of you guys because she always did the right thing by me. You know what I'm saying? I was just a kid. I was so focused on the pet and my loving pig, I didn't understand what was going on until it was too late. And there was nothing we could do about it. My family couldn't afford to buy the pig from Camp's Pork and Beans. They paid like $600 for this pig way back in 1970 something, whatever it was. And we didn't have the money to keep feeding it, whatever. And that was it. It was, so anyway, I've carried that with me my whole life, but God, thank you, Dana. It doesn't look very healing at the moment.
Oh my gosh.
But it really, really is. So,
I feel terrible now because I got you crying. I was
No,
like, oh no.
no, it's the most beautiful message. And let me tell you something. The flip side of that, if I get my shit together, the flip side of that is that, I always start out our videos saying how important you are to me, but this should be really proof positive that it's the whole spirit world that knows that and thinks that, or you would not have been used as the channel to send this message. My mom wouldn't use you. Petunia wouldn't use you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That just solidifies to me how much of a part of my crazy family you are. So anyway, okay. Oh, Lordy B. Okay. So we're going to take a break. You'll probably notice just a little blip, and then we're going to go get a soda or something and then come right back. And then we're going to start with the bottom of this, which is Mother Earth, and see how those cards associate and relate to the ones on the top. So we'll be right back, you guys. All right. So after the very emotional discovery of the top of the reading, Father Sky, and the 5 cards that are in those positions, and now you guys know a little bit more about me. We are now moving on to Mother Earth, and this signature tarot spread, graciously designed by Master Tarot reader Dayna Winters. We're going to now talk about, okay, so Father Sky has these connotations, and these cards fell in these places with the energies of these directions and these elements behind it. And that correlates potentially to this animal or this tarot card. How? Now we're going to move into Mother Earth. And so let's even talk about, why do you have 2 rows? Why is there a Father Sky and Mother Earth?
Well, just like there's yin and yang, the opposing forces, that they work together. So as above, so below. It's like the macrocosm and the microcosm. And the idea is, if it's written in the universe, so shall it happen on Earth. It's also a layout that you can use subconscious to conscious realm, realm of feelings, realm of the physical. I mean, you can break it down any way you see fit in that dichotomy, but it covers everything in the sky, or everything in the universe, and everything on Earth, or what's underneath, the energies that lie underneath, and what's right in front of you. So it's the dynamic of the two and how they work together to bring a whole picture to your question.
Okay. And I did ask Dana a lot of questions. So how we're going about, teaching you guys how to use this signature spread, this signature tarot spread, with the Ark, is just one little step at a time. Here's how this could correlate together. Here's how it could correlate this way, but you might interpret it this way. You might interpret it this way. So this video is a little long. It's a little painstaking. We get it, but you don't have to do it all at one time. And if you'll just start to slowly kind of get there, we promise you, your readings will be so much more in depth and valuable to your friends, your family, yourself, your clients, whoever you're doing readings for or healings for, same kind of thing. And so, okay, so Dana, so in Mother Earth, in the feminine, in the yin energy, in the position of East and Air, what card is there?
Ironically enough, as you said, slow down and try to adjust to things. It's the snail. So the snail, of course, is about taking things at your own pace. They do create this kind of like a gel or a material that makes things smooth, or making things smooth. So this is about producing things that'll smooth things out or pave the way. Snails also, of course, they have that shell, and this is protecting yourself during the process. protecting the project during the process. But also because it's in the mother sky position, this is more about
Mother
being
Earth,
open.
Mother Earth,
Mother Earth, Mother Sky, excuse me, Mother Earth, I'm losing my mind. Mother Earth position. It's in Mother Earth position. This is about nothing is more connected to the earth than a snail. It crawls across the earth. It's in touch
like
with the earth.
snakes.
It's about remaining grounded through the process, because you can get really caught up in lofty ideas and then not be able to move because those ideas are so lofty that you're floating around and thinking about, oh, we could do this and we could do this and we could do this. But if you don't take action, you're not doing anything. So this is about taking a steady pace forward and, enacting things, remaining grounded as you move forward.
Right. And so in correlation, working in tandem with the card above it. So the card above it in the Father Sky position is
The cow.
the cow.
So
And
this is
so,
about pacing yourself with that creativity.
right.
Pacing yourself as you nurture it. And yeah, it's been a painstaking pacing it. Sometimes it might go a little bit slower than you want to sometimes because you want things to speed up, but a snail gets there when they get there kind of thing.
Right.
So know that this is coiled energy. So it's going to
say, very much like the novelist, that circular, you're getting there, and it's going to be perfect, but sometimes you might spin a little bit in circles, but it's all perfect.
Yes, exactly. So it's reiterating that Nautilus kind of energy in the passive area. So be open to the fact that as it unfolds, things are working out as long as you remain paced.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right. So moving on to the South and Fire in Mother Earth.
South of Fire Manta Ray, which is interesting. It's a water creature. And of course, being able to smoothly glide along emotionally, gliding through the waters, expansion because of the way it spreads itself out. And of course, the manta ray in this, it looks like it's got a big smile on its face. It's so beautiful. It's like keeping a smile on your face as everything unfolds and spans out. The card, of course, perfect harmony. And that's what we're striving for here with this whole yin and yang question. We're looking for the most harmonious route forward.
Well, and it's the Temperance card.
Yes.
And so, if I'm not mistaken,
Moderation.
Right, and the whale is right above it, which is Judgment, which are two different angel cards.
Actually, it's the macaw that's above it.
Oh, excuse me.
The macaw that's above it.
Oh, yes, excuse me. You're right. Okay.
Well, we had talked about separately. Yeah.
Right. And so then how do we equate the macaws above it, which is the world, which is about bright colors and using your voice and sticking true to your own true colors and all the beautiful gifts that the world card hands you, because basically that's the world is your oyster card with all these, and you get rainbows, right? Okay. And now we've got the Temperance card under it. Now, I chose Manta because in the Temperance card there is an angel in the traditional Rider-Waite card.
Yes.
And when I looked at that manta ray, it literally turned its head around to me and said, we're the angels of the sea, right? And I'm like, what? And I went and I looked it up, and sure enough, they're called that. I was like, oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so that's why a manta ray is the Temperance card. And so how do you correlate those? Why are those cards working together?
Because for me, the Temperance card, when you interpret it from Rider-Waite, it literally means making the impossible possible. Yeah. With divine intervention, which you certainly have here. You have spirit realm intervention, so that this world is unfolding for you with a little angelic guidance.
Okay, excellent. All right, and so moving on to West Water.
Moose, believe it or not, which is making bold stand, being very visible. Mooses weigh like a moose weighs 1,000 pounds. I think how much does a moose weigh? It's heavy.
Yeah, they're like a
big animal.
Bigger than you can ever imagine.
They also have antlers, so like psychic attuning to the universe, listening to the guidance you get from that universe, being very receptive to guidance from the universe, angels, spirit guide, the animals, channeling them. So that's really tuning into the animal spirits. Commanding attention too comes from that. You can command a lot of attention by being passive. You don't have to scream out your message. And I'm not saying be silent, but sometimes just standing still and letting people take notice of the fact that you are still amidst chaos will get that attention.
And so the moose is below the what card that's in the Father Sky position?
The Nautilus. the nautilus, the Ace of Cups. So that's about finding your bliss. That's also about psychic attunement, because you've got a lotus underneath that starts in the mud, works its way up through the waters, emotional waters, and blossoms. And you think about the unfolding of the spirit, the unfolding of the project, the unfolding of everything that's coming to you, and being able to stand in that and bask in it and enjoy it. You know, experiencing your bliss by standing in it. Not some people run from success. This is about standing in that success and enjoying it.
Okay. And also, because moose are such large creatures, is there anything that you would see there? And also, I don't know why I'm being we've never talked about this, but I'm being pinged psychically to ask you about this. So there's 5 cards, and West and Water is right in the middle. Do you see the bridge between the first 2 cards and the next 2 cards, or am I hearing that that's not? Am I hearing something else and interpreting it as that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, because of water, you can navigate through those waters to the other side. So if we look at Father Sky for a minute, you've got the world on one side, Warthog on the other side. So going from air to earth, number 1. So even though you're ascending, you've got to remain grounded. But at the same time, the world and your 2 of Cups, that is bringing the whole world together. So the world coming to you and bringing it together, it's like connected. It references the world twice. If I look at the bottom, the manta ray is on one side. The card next to the moose is the alligator, Page of Cups. Wow. So this is very much about navigating water, deep felt emotions. I always think of the sign of Pisces when I see the Page of Cups. Yep. And someone who's very youthful, exuberant, a little bit more mature than the Page of Wands. But this is the alligator is someone who's ancient knowledge, arcane knowledge, someone with big teeth thinking your teeth into something. Yep. And holding on for dear life.
You know, people always talk about how frogs are walkers in both worlds because they live in the water, they live on the land. However, alligators and crocodiles are this as well, but I always think of them as seers in both worlds, because frogs
eyes in the water.
Their eyes are out up above, but the rest of them is below. And yeah, I always think of them. So in that position then, what do you think Page of Cups is trying to tell me in correlation with the card that's above it, which is the Warthogs?
Well, this is about being comfortable with navigating through the realm of emotion. With particularly Warthog is 2 of Cups, getting comfortable, I would say, with that healing process, because it brings two elements together, or it brings a wholeness. It's going to change things for you, and to adjust to that change, that's a huge thing. Sometimes adjusting to change can be emotionally painful. Sometimes it's so different that it feels awkward. So getting comfortable with the big changes that it brings into your life in general, because it's going to be very successful. You think about the moose, it's going to stand out. The world card, it's going to be very visible. Bringing your presence out to the world and being comfortable navigating in the world. And I know you as a person, you prefer animals.
I do. I'm not your love. I do. But on any given day, I'd rather be hanging out with, say, a jaguar, a bear, cockapoo. So, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, bringing arcane knowledge to the world, lovingly so, because the warthogs are about lovers. The paradise of animals, because the lovers, you think about Adam and Eve and paradise and perfection and the perfect messages of the animals. So they're perfect arcane knowledge and wisdom.
Okay. Sweet. Okay.
The last card, Akasha card, unicorn.
What? Are you kidding me?
I'm serious, unicorn. I know how you love unicorns. I remember one day you answered the door with a unicorn thing on your head. I remember that.
I did. I forgot.
Guys, like, what?
The Amazon Prime guy was like, "Hello, Mrs. King." I was like, "Hi," and he kept looking up, and I'm like, "Oh God!" And it was very funny. He was like, "Oh no, I think you should put it back on." It was hilarious. Okay, that's crazy. So. That's crazy. So how do you interpret that the unicorn is below the bears?
All right, so below the bears, well, divine purity. So you think about a pure connection. The messages that you're receiving are from the divine mother, the divine feminine, but also the divine masculine. Of course, you talk about the rarity of the deck, and the unicorns are very rare. So this is like the unicorn of decks, dare I say. It's very different.
Well, in
And
the book, that would make sense for the book as
yeah,
well. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
And
really completely very different than anybody else has out there.
when you think about unicorns being very magical, bringing your magic into the world in a way that allows you to mother the world in a sense, because the things that you're presenting to the world ultimately um, are for nurturing, for healing, for answering questions, for life improvement, for connecting with the animals. It's not that we learning how to live with them in reciprocity, that balance. And of course, the unicorn horn, if you think about that piercing or projecting, it's a psychic channel. It's drawing down energies from the universe and presenting them on the earth. So this is about being very receptive and open and continuing to do that work, channeling that work. And now the horse is, rearing up. So this a horse, when it rears up, it's either frightened or it's getting ready to leap over something. So this is leaping into the next venture, maintaining that continual psychic connection so that you can continue to nurture and get ready to protect the next project. It's like repeating the cycle. You're coming full circle. So this is about being passive, open, receptive, and continuing to channel that energy of the animals.
Yep. And I have a really personal story about unicorns. I'll put the link to the article below, but in the time that leading up to my divorce and after the divorce, I won't go into the whole story now, but I just kept seeing rainbows and unicorns everywhere. And
yes.
yeah, it irked me. I'm like, listen, animals, I need real signs. Okay. I'm not rainbow bright and I'm not dying. And
Right.
the more angry I got, the more rainbows and unicorns that showed up. But as it turns out, the craziest story of how I bought my house, and the unbelievable deal that I got on it in the most unbelievable location. It's the most perfect house for me. And it's sandwiched. My house is sandwiched in a community called Spring Tree. Okay. All new beginnings, strong roots, great growth. My backyard is full of cypress trees. Who has a backyard full of cypress trees except for people that live on the river? And the community to one side of me is, are you ready for this? Forest of the Unicorn. The other side of me is rainbows. Literally, and that's what they were trying to tell me was it'll all be okay. You've got this great gift coming, and this reading is about me. So I do a lot of talking about what Bernadette's going to get, but really the reading is about all the animals. It's about all you wild ones, because let's be really clear. I could be in any kind of business I wanted to be. I could be creating anything that I wanted to create. I asked the animal spirit guides to show me what I was supposed to do next. And all of this has been unfolding, unfolding, unfolding. And with the work that people are now awakening to, working with the animal spirit guides, every single day I get emails or Facebook PMs or, whatever, that are talking about how I've been studying totems for years and I've been working with this and doing this, and I never had this experience, and my clients have never had this experience. And that's because the collective is putting all of this energy in and all of this focus and all of this knowledge, and it's growing in momentum, and it's inspiring people to do more and more and more for animals in their own way. And that's all this ever was supposed to do to begin with. And so, I was telling a friend of mine the other day, I was like, so my publisher and I, I had a slate of 7 volumes of books that I wanted to do, each teaching people how to work with the animal spirits in a way that is nobody else has taught, and just makes it so much more in depth. And there's some amazing, amazing work out there about working with totems and spirit animals and totem and power animals. And I'm not taking anything away from them. They are amazing. And I use them still as references. Ted Andrews' book, it's like my banky, man. I keep that thing by me at all times because he's the father of all of this. He's such a genuine, wonderful man. And so, but this just takes it to a different level, and adds more opportunity for everybody to get closer to their animal allies and to work with readings and healings for themselves, for others, for whatever. So I know this has been a long video. We really appreciate you guys staying with us. As a client, Dayna, I'm walking away from this feeling like all of my questions have been answered.
Excellent.
I thank you for that. And I know that because I trust you implicitly as a reader, but for me, the evidence is the card that got me started is the macaw, because and how macaw relates also to my ex-husband. If you guys watch the first part of this video about the Father Sky, is for many, many years, he was a parrot head. He was a huge Jimmy Buffett fan for many years, and just a big old parrot head. So that card, a macaw, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. And the macaw said, yes, absolutely. And this deck probably would not, or the website probably would not have been started without his encouragement and his support. So really, he is kind of, oh my God, he is Father Sky, and I'm Mother Earth in this. Holy cow. Okay. Or holy macaw. So, and then
actually cows next to macaw. You can say holy cow.
So then we get
oh my goodness.
And if you guys watch my meltdown at the end of the Father Sky, talking about my pet pig Petunia, and oh my God, the warthogs as the lover showed up right next to the card that always represents my mom and represents the deepest part of me, the bears. This is supposed to be a tutorial for you guys, the wild ones, right? And apologies for being selfish, but I'm just blown away. I'm so grateful. And I know that I'm going in the right direction. I know that by just continuing to listen to the animal allies, I'm hearing it correctly, and I'm moving forward to do better work for everybody, for the earth, for the animals, for you guys, the two-legged peoples. And I just, I give you my word as always. I'm just going to keep doing it, until they find me face down in like a pig pen somewhere, draped over the back of a horse or something. So anyway, or bobbing with the manatees. That's my next thing. When it gets cold here in Florida, all the manatees start to come in to warmer waters. And so I'm almost confident enough to wear a wetsuit, because in a wetsuit, I look very much like a manatee. And I really do. And so I'm almost confident enough to get in a wetsuit and start bobbing around in the rivers with the manatees. So I'm going to shoot for that. I'm going to shoot for that around Christmas time this year. But Dayna, thank you so much. Your wisdom is just, wow, it's astounding. And thank you for everything that you're willing to share with the wild ones of the Ark and the world. And
thank you for letting me be part of it.
Yeah, for everything. So you guys, listen. Now you see why Dayna is who I go to for readings, and she comes to me for readings. So we're like this, duo of readings. But if you want to book a reading with Dayna, the link is down in the notes section below. If you want to book a reading with me, that link is also down there. If you haven't purchased the Ark yet, I implore you to do so, because as you just witnessed, it is a very powerful tool for you to have. The energy of the animals, I got asked why I didn't want to have artist renderings of the animals. And I'm like, because when are you going to see something like that? When,
exactly,
that is a real buffalo. When are you going to get this up close and personal? Look at the details in those feathers.
I get close to hummingbirds. I have a hummingbird, like a feeder right outside my porch, and sometimes they come in the porch, and my husband actually has to catch them and let them out. And I've actually been able to touch them on their head, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful.
They're very cool. So you just don't really get that from a painting, no matter.
Yes.
Listen, there are some artists out there that do the most unbelievably lifelike paintings, but I just
my grandson sees the babies. He's like, oh, babies. He goes, he's only 2. He's like, look at the babies.
I love that. But yeah, the energy and the power that the real animal images bring to this, it never ceases to astound me just how powerful it is. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much. If you have questions, as always, put them in the notes below. We hope you subscribe to our YouTube channels. The link to Dayna's YouTube channel is down there. She's just kind of getting her started, but support her, please, if you will. because you see how amazing she is. And just thank you so much. And as always, the most important message of the day is to what? To stay wild. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.